Have you ever left a party, a gathering with friends, or a family reunion and felt as if all your energy had been completely drained? As if you needed hours, perhaps days, alone to recover? If you've experienced this, know that you're not alone. There's a deep scientific and psychological explanation for this phenomenon that affects millions of people around the world. Today, we're going to dive into the minds of those who feel exhausted after social interactions and discover what really happens behind this common yet poorly understood experience. Before we continue, if you identify with this topic or know someone who experiences this, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and comment what time you're watching this video. Your participation helps us reach more people who can benefit from this content. The story begins with a concept that revolutionized our understanding of human personality. For decades, psychologists observed that people reacted in dramatically different ways to the same social situations. While some seemed to gain energy at parties and gatherings, others felt as if they were being slowly emptied. This observation led to the development of one of the most important concepts in modern psychology, the spectrum between introversion and extroversion. But here's what many people don't understand. This isn't about shyness or social skills. It's about how our brain processes stimuli and where we find our vital energy source. Imagine for a moment that you're a battery. Each person is born with a unique recharging system. For some, recharging happens through connection with other people, the buzz of conversations, the collective energy of a group. These are extroverted people, and for them, solitude can feel as draining as a party feels to an introvert. But for others, and perhaps you're one of them, the battery recharges in exactly the opposite way. In silence, in solitude, in moments of deep introspection. And when these people are exposed to intense social environments, no matter how pleasant the experience may be, the battery continues depleting. Now let's go deeper. What really happens in the brain during a social interaction? Research in neuroscience has revealed fascinating discoveries. When we're in social situations, our brain enters a state of extraordinary hyperactivity. We're constantly processing faces, interpreting micro-facial expressions, analyzing tones of voice, carefully choosing words, monitoring our body language, trying to understand others' intentions, and simultaneously managing our own emotions and reactions. It's as if we're running dozens of complex programs at the same time on our mental computer. For more introverted people, this processing is even more intense. Neuroimaging studies have shown that their brains display greater activity in the prefrontal cortex during social interactions, the region responsible for complex thinking and deep analysis. They're not just conversing, they're analyzing, reflecting, considering multiple layers of meaning in each exchange. It's as if they're playing chess while others are playing checkers. Both are valid games, but one requires significantly more cognitive energy than the other. There's also a fundamental difference in how different brains process dopamine, the neurotransmitter associated with pleasure and reward. Extroverted people tend to have reward systems more sensitive to external stimuli, which means they literally feel more pleasure in situations of social stimulation and novelty. Their brains release more dopamine in response to these environments. Introverted people have a different sensitivity. Their brains are more responsive to acetylcholine, a neurotransmitter associated with reflective thinking and inner contentment. They feel reward not in external stimulus, but in internal processing, in contemplation, in depth. But there's another layer to this story that we need to explore, the issue of sensory overstimulation. We live in a world that is, objectively, more stimulating than any previous era in human history. Bright lights, constant sounds, multiple conversations happening simultaneously, phone notifications, background music, visual movements everywhere. For some people, this level of stimulation is exciting and energizing. For others, it's absolutely exhausting. Researchers have identified that about 15 to 20% of the population possesses what they call high sensory processing sensitivity. These people have nervous systems that process sensory information more deeply and completely. They notice subtleties that others might not even register, the texture of background music, subtle changes in someone's body language, the specific smell of the environment, the quality of lighting. Imagine having all your senses tuned to high definition while others are in standard definition. Each social event becomes an overwhelming sensory experience. And here's something crucial that many people don't understand. Feeling drained after social events doesn't mean you didn't enjoy the experience. This is perhaps the greatest source of confusion and misunderstanding. You can have genuinely enjoyed yourself, laughed, appreciated the company, and still come home completely exhausted. Pleasure and fatigue are not mutually exclusive in this context. It's possible to love your friends and still need 3 days alone after seeing them. It's possible to have had the best party of your life and still wake up the next day feeling as if you'd run a mental marathon. This apparent contradiction confuses not just others, but often the person experiencing it themselves. Many grow up with doubts about their own reactions. After all, if you had fun, why are you so tired? Why do you need quiet time in the following days? Why does the idea of another social interaction seem difficult? The answer lies in understanding that we're talking about different types of energy, like different fuels for different engines. Let's also consider the role of the social mask. All of us, to some extent, present a version of ourselves in social situations that is slightly different from our most authentic and relaxed self. For some people, this mask is light, almost transparent, and putting it on requires little effort. For others, especially those who feel out of sync with dominant social norms, this mask is heavy and requires constant conscious effort to maintain. Think about the mental effort needed to constantly monitor your speech, to ensure you're making eye contact in the right amount, to laugh at appropriate times, to demonstrate interest through nonverbal signals, to suppress your natural impulses that might not be socially appropriate. For many, this happens so automatically they barely notice. But for others, each of these actions is a conscious choice, a small expenditure of energy that accumulates over hours until it becomes an overwhelming weight. There's also the dimension of social anxiety, which, although related, isn't exactly the same thing. You cannot have clinical social anxiety and still feel drained. Social anxiety involves fear and worry about how you'll be perceived. Social exhaustion can occur even when you're completely comfortable and confident. It's simply the cognitive and sensory cost of being in social mode for an extended period. But let's explore an often overlooked aspect, the cultural environment we live in. Many societies, particularly in the West, enormously value extroversion. The cultural ideal is to be sociable, talkative, comfortable in large groups, capable of networking, always available and energized. From childhood, this pattern is reinforced. Quiet children are encouraged to speak more, to play in groups, to come out of their shells. Work environments reward those who thrive in meetings and constant interactions. Professional success is often associated with the ability to be visible and vocal. This cultural bias creates an additional layer of exhaustion for those who naturally function differently. It's not just the effort of social interaction itself, but the additional effort of trying to fit into a mold that wasn't made for you. It's like a left-handed person being forced to write with their right hand throughout their entire life. Technically possible, but always requiring more energy and attention than it should. And then there's the question of loneliness versus solitude. Our society often confuses these two things, but they are radically different. Loneliness is a painful state of disconnection, of wanting company but not having it. Solitude is a chosen and nourishing state of being alone. For people who feel drained after social events, solitude isn't isolation, it's recovery. It's necessary, it's healing, it's where they process experiences, recharge energy, and reconnect with themselves. Sometimes, this need for solitude can be misunderstood by others. Friends and family may have difficulty understanding when you decline invitations or when you leave events early. They may wonder if it's about them, when in reality it's about you managing your own social energy resources. Clear communication can help greatly in these cases. Science also shows us that the quality of interactions matters as much as the quantity. One deep and meaningful conversation with a person can be much less draining than 2 hours of superficial conversations at a party with 20 people. This happens because deep conversations, although intense, allow a different form of connection that can actually be energizing even for introverts. There's less need for social masking, less processing of multiple layers of social interaction, and more space for authenticity. This brings us to an important question. How can those who experience this exhaustion navigate a world that seems designed for people who function differently? The answer isn't to try to transform yourself into something you're not. Decades of psychological research confirm that fundamental personality traits are remarkably stable throughout life. You can develop skills, you can learn strategies, but you won't fundamentally alter where your brain finds energy. Instead, the answer lies in deep self-knowledge and the creation of healthy boundaries. This means knowing your own energy patterns, recognizing your warning signs of overload, and giving yourself permission to honor your needs even when they go against social expectations. It means learning to say no with tranquility. It means creating recovery spaces in your schedule with the same seriousness with which you schedule social commitments. It also means communicating your needs clearly and directly. Instead of creating elaborate explanations for why you need to leave early or decline an invitation, simply being honest. You need time alone to recharge. People who truly care can generally understand and respect these needs. There are also practical strategies that can help. Creating breaks during social events, finding quiet spaces for a few minutes of decompression, limiting the duration of your social participation, choosing environments that naturally involve less stimulation. Some people discover that outdoor events are less draining than closed and crowded spaces. Others find that small dinners are more sustainable than large parties. Knowing your own variables and creating conditions that work for you isn't weakness, it's wisdom. And we should also address the role of technology in all this. Social media has created an entirely new form of social interaction that carries its own challenges. For some, digital communication offers a valuable middle ground, connection without the complete sensory intensity of physical presence. For others, the constant and always available nature of digital interactions completely removes the recovery time that used to exist naturally between social events. Now you can be technically alone at home and still be in social mode through messages, video calls, and social media interactions. It's crucial to recognize that even digital interactions consume social energy. Responding to messages, maintaining online conversations, managing your digital presence, all of this counts. Many people who feel drained by in-person interactions discover that they also need to create digital boundaries, periods where they disconnect completely to allow true recovery. Returning to the neurological foundations, recent research has revealed more about what happens during the post-social recovery period. When introverted or sensitive people finally have time alone, their brains enter a specific pattern of activity known as the default mode network. This network is associated with internal processing, reflection, creative thinking, and the consolidation of memories and experiences. It's not wasted time or laziness, it's when the brain is actively processing and organizing everything that was experienced. During intense social interactions, there's so much happening in real time that there's no opportunity for this deeper processing. It's like trying to organize a house while a party is still going on. You need everyone to leave first so you can really tidy up and make sense of what happened. The time alone after social events is when the true processing and integration of experience occurs. There's also a spiritual and philosophical aspect to this discussion that deserves consideration. Throughout human history, many spiritual traditions have valued solitude and silence as paths to greater understanding and connection with something greater than ourselves. Mystics, philosophers, artists, and thinkers were often those who needed long periods of isolation to produce their deepest works. Perhaps those who need solitude are accessing something important that our modern culture has forgotten in its constant rush of connectivity. This doesn't mean that one type of person is better than another. Each temperament brings its own valuable qualities. More extroverted people often bring energy that facilitates connections and community building. More introverted people often bring deep reflection and insights that come from careful observation. Both styles are valuable and contribute in different ways. What's important is that each style be understood and respected in its particularities. As we advance as a society, there are hopeful signs that this understanding is expanding. More companies are recognizing the value of offering quiet workspaces alongside collaborative areas. More people are speaking openly about their needs for introversion and sensitivity. There's a growing movement to normalize different styles of social functioning. but there's still a path of growth ahead. Many people still have doubts about their own needs because they can't keep up with the social pace they see around them. Some still commit to more social interactions than they can comfortably sustain, which can lead to excessive tiredness, increased stress, and impacts on physical health. The stress of being constantly overstimulated and without adequate recovery time can have effects on health and well-being. Studies show that people who consistently ignore their natural energy and recovery needs present higher levels of cortisol, the stress hormone. This can lead to sleep problems, weakened immune system, digestive issues, and a series of other stress-related conditions. Honoring your needs isn't luxury or self-indulgence, it's basic health care. And for those who love someone who experiences this social exhaustion, understanding this dynamic is crucial. It's not personal when they need time alone. It's not that they don't like you or don't value your relationship. It's simply how they function. The best thing you can do is respect these needs without judgment, create space for them to be honest about their limits, and understand that when they choose to spend time with you, it's a meaningful and intentional choice, not an obligation. For parents of children who demonstrate these characteristics, there's a valuable opportunity for support. Helping a child understand and accept their own temperament while developing social skills can be very beneficial. Teaching that different people have different needs for alone time, and that this is natural and healthy, creates a foundation of self-knowledge. Creating spaces where children can have quiet moments when they need them, and supporting their needs in different environments, can make a big difference in how they perceive themselves. At the same time, it's important to recognize the difference between natural personality characteristics and moments when it may be helpful to seek additional support. If someone notices that isolation is significantly affecting their quality of life, or if there are persistent feelings of intense sadness or fear that go beyond simple recovery needs, talking to a mental health professional can offer valuable perspectives and tools. Introversion is a natural and healthy personality characteristic, but each person is unique and can benefit from different types of support throughout life. As we approach the end of this exploration, it's worth reflecting on what all this means on a broader level. The diversity of temperaments and social needs creates an interesting mosaic in human experience. Different people contribute in unique ways. Some bring immediate connection and collective energy, others bring depth of reflection and careful perception. The variety of temperaments enriches our collective experience. The invitation here is for self-compassion and genuine acceptance. If you're someone who feels drained after social events, remember that comparisons with those who seem to flourish infinitely in social situations aren't helpful. Your value isn't measured by how many parties you can attend or how many friends you have. It's measured by the authenticity with which you live, by the depth of your chosen connections, and by how much you're at peace with yourself. And if you're someone who doesn't experience this exhaustion, the invitation is for empathy and understanding. Another person's vital signs are different from yours, and that doesn't make them less valid. When someone says they need to leave early or decline an invitation, believe them. When someone says they're overwhelmed, it's not dramatization. It's a real experience of their nervous system, as real as hunger or thirst. In the end, we're all navigating this complex world the best we can with the systems we've been given. There's no right or wrong way to process social experiences. There are only different ways, each with its own strengths and challenges. The path forward isn't trying to change who we fundamentally are, but creating a world where different ways of being are equally valued and accommodated. May we all find our own rhythm, honor our own needs, and create spaces where all types of people can thrive. May we have the courage to be authentic about what we need, the wisdom to recognize our own patterns, and the compassion to understand that each person's path is unique. And may we, in the end, recognize that in all this diversity of human experience, there is a perfect order, a balance that serves the whole in ways we cannot always immediately see. May the Lord God give us wisdom to understand ourselves and others, and may we find peace in accepting who we truly are, without trying to force ourselves into molds that don't serve us. May each of us find our own path to living authentically and with integrity toward ourselves.